I was 32 when I discovered my brother's old, dusty PC in the attic, hidden beneath boxes of memories and forgotten toys. The machine sat there, a relic of the early 2000s, covered in a thick layer of dust that shielded it from the world. That old box, with its faded stickers and outdated hardware, stirred something deep within me, a nostalgic longing for the days when my brother and I would lose ourselves in the pixelated world of The Sims. Little did I know that the floppy disks containing our cherished neighborhood held deeper secrets than I could ever imagine. I felt a rush of excitement as I plugged the PC back in, anticipation mixed with the weight of sorrow. Just months before, a fire had torn through our home, leaving me grappling with loss, not just of possessions, but of the memories attached. Now, as the hum of the PC filled the room, I felt a strange comfort wash over me. I had to see our old neighborhood once again, the homes we built dedicated to each family member, a testament to our shared lives before everything shifted. After several attempts, the ancient monitor blinked to life, casting a greenish hue across the dim attic space. It was a time capsule, bites of nostalgia nestled within its chipset. I navigated through the operating system as a familiar thrill ignited in my chest. Each click brought me back to the laughter and joy of childhood days spent creating characters that mirrored us. My adventurous brother, the skeptical older sibling, and a myriad of friends who passed through our digital lives. I clicked the icon for the game. The old loading screen felt like a warm embrace. As the game booted up, memories flooded back, with those familiar synthy tunes filling the air. I selected our neighborhood, an entire life crafted within pixelated walls. There, I saw all the houses we had lovingly shaped, each decorated to represent a different family member. I paused by each structure. A sense of euphoria mingled with something darker, a hint of unease gnawing at my gut. Navigating toward my childhood home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. As I panned the camera, moving through the streets, one house in particular caught my eye. It was the last one on the map, and as I zoomed in, chills crawled down my spine. It was an uncanny replica of my current apartment. The layout, the furnishings, even the light filtering through the virtual window. It was all eerily familiar. A part of me screamed to push through the discomfort, but another part wanted to flee. The nostalgia was quickly becoming unsettling. I settled deeper into the experience, clicking on the house and preparing to enter. The thought of seeing the old virtual family again tugged at my heart, yet there was an underlying sense of dread that wormed its way through the joy. The moment I entered, everything felt familiar, and for a brief instant, I dared to believe in the magic of nostalgia. Little did I know that this house held deeper secrets that would scare me beyond reason. As I navigated the dimly lit halls, strange things began to reveal themselves, memories interwoven with the surreal. Pictures on the walls contained items I would recognize from the aftermath of the fire, things that had perished along with my home. The couch in the living room had an identical tear to the one I remembered, as if crafted from the same fabric. The virtual Sims moved about their everyday lives, but their interactions felt off, tinged with an unsettling awareness. I tried to rationalize what I was seeing. Glitches, poor programming, or perhaps the remains of my brother's unfinished game? I blinked and shook off the creeping doubt. My brother and I spent countless hours immersed in this world, sharing laughter and spirited humor. Surely it was all a simple backspin of misplaced pixels. But even as the rationalization washed over me, I felt a low rumble in my gut, a hint of anxiety I couldn't dismiss. The Sims went about their digital lives, but every so often, odd things happened. For instance, a character mimicking my brother would turn abruptly, eyes wide, as though peering directly at me, silently asking if I was watching. It was bizarre. They shouldn't have had that level of complexity, should they? The thought sent a shiver down my spine as I pieced together the past with the present. Before I could lose myself further in confusion, I glanced around the familiar rooms, searching for items whose shapes I recognized. A chair sat with its legs crooked, just as I had arranged them in real life before the incident. Then came that sinking realization. I had lost that table, the one I'd painstakingly restored before it had become a casualty of flames. Deeper into this unsettling recreation, I felt the pressure of unseen eyes closing in around me. I was playing with fire, and that notion sat heavily in my chest as reality began to fray. There was no escape, and still I pressed onward, spurred by an inexplicable fear and the insatiable craving for understanding. Clicking through the various rooms, I discovered a series of strange similarities. An invitation that we never sent, a broken vase we threw away after the fight, a timeline emerging between my real life and the simulation. And then it hit me. I could feel the outlines of something dangerous. It was not dead memories I was entwining with, but living, breathing echoes of events that had not yet happened. But when I finally clicked on that last house, a shocking revelation awaited me. As I stumbled upon the virtual kitchen, my heart dropped. The scene unfolding before me mirrored a memory I had tried desperately to escape. My brother and I had fought over the last slice of pizza there, laughter turning into harsh words. Unsettled, I wanted to turn away, but unwilling curiosity glued me in place. The wall screen lit up, displaying a moment of my brother scolding me for tossing my half-eaten slice into the trash without remorse. I had laughed it off back then, but rewatching that moment hurt more than it had in the past. Why was this here? I wasn't supposed to relive that night, and there it was ingrained in the digital legacy he left behind. In disbelief, I pulled up the neighborhood map, fearing what I might discover. But it was simply more of the same, a shallow representation of our lives. I clicked through the houses again. A low hum of discomfort settled in my chest, yet I couldn't help myself, desperate for more answers. Each click showed me not just my family stories, but an unfolding narrative I didn't want to believe. A feeling of dread began to envelop me as my heart raced. The uneasiness I had pushed aside now gripped me fiercely as the connection between the houses began to blossom into something horrifying. I noted the oddities, tracking contradictions to my reality with a newfound understanding. How could my brother have known, I wondered? How could an old PC hold this power? As the clock ticked, I dove deeper, unraveling each thread of this intricate design, connecting the dots to unveil truths better left obscured. The faces of friends and family appeared in the game, mimicking not just their likeness, but embodying actions they had taken in real life, moments that would twist and tangle the fabric of my existence. Sleep became elusive as I pored over the neighborhoods. Dark nights consumed by gaming became my sanctuary, my obsession. But as I searched for meaning in the eerie insulation of nostalgia, paranoia prickled at my spine. I could feel it, an unseen malevolence seeping from the screen, the lines between us blurring as a creeping dread took root. When dawn broke, I found myself standing before the screen, the memories still flickering in my mind. I began scribbling a list, documenting the most alarming oddities. An unsigned birthday card for my sister appeared on the table, a timestamp attached. I should have never sought after it. After everything I had lost, the fight we had over those forgotten details that now littered this virtual version of my past. What I saw, however, was far from mere lines of code. The portrait from my real house was painted darkly. The day of my brother's funeral appeared on the calendar as a reminder, stark, sharp, and unforgiving. Chaos seeped into my being. I shook my head, searching for logic in this amusement I had once cherished. And yet, the pressure of it all led me down a similar rabbit hole. I began questioning my brother's intentions. Had he always known that his creation might turn to this? My heart raced faster still. I feared the truth that lay behind his motives. But nothing prepared me for what the last item revealed. I realized that the timeline presented within this imaginary framework held predictions of future events, convoluted snapshots of tragedy leading to bitter truths. The entire neighborhood felt like a mirror reflecting the inward chaos of my psyche. How cruel a creator, I thought, to plant seeds of destiny, hoping to grow control over outcomes so bitter. Frantically, I pieced together the catastrophic events. A choking call on the day we learned that my aunt had fallen ill too soon from the fire. I felt the pit in my stomach deepen. As I scrolled through the endless pages of memories, I realized they were defined by loss. With every click, I felt myself drawn back down that path of ruin. I could almost hear the echoes of laughter fade into cries like vaporizing white smoke in the aftermath of flames. Each detail became as vivid as the last, moments unvaliantly lost and turns made without knowing. The digital globe holding a tight grip of my choices beneath its glimmering surface. The juxtaposition between the in-game world and the reality I faced became crushing, pushing me ever deeper into a spiral of paranoia. But it brought me no closer to the stability I craved. How far was I willing to go to expose my past? I discovered the mirrors of our lives, the ties binding my brother's intentions all too clear now. Everything was unfolding before me as I wandered through double layers of reality, the truth far more elaborate than I could bear. It became clear this was a message, not just a simulation. It wasn't just about virtual life. It was about manipulating the narratives we held dear. I had slipped into a realm where fate and free will collided like children on a playground. I fought to change the rhythm of time, desperate as I was watching the unfolding design of life. Frustration mixed with despair. The outcomes were etched within the game, binding me tighter than the flames had ever done. The truth I sought became my prison, and, much like the game, I began plotting my escape. I thought I could change the outcome, to amend the narrative playing out before me, to steal back the moments lost in time. Yet each interaction coaxed out unintelligible consequences, yielding results that rattled beyond comprehension. Through this heartbreaking journey, the journey peeled away parts of my identity, grounding me against windows of despair that left me fragmented. I could feel the weight of my decisions bearing down upon me, until at last I broke free into an unwavering realization. But the real horror crept in with every absurd decision I made. The sim I had once crafted, who gleefully played beside me, began haunting me with every move I made. I felt a pull, as if the game was luring me towards some dark predilection I couldn't name, an elaborate cycle begging my uncalibrated input. I forced a smile when I saw that last moment flicker, a wild dance breaking into a whirlwind on the old dining table. But the simulated agony of flames engulfed me anew, sending me spiraling as choices I made took shapes I had never intended. They began walking paths I hadn't even imagined. Each moment ignited confusion deeper than any artistic rendering could express, and clarity slipped from my grasp like sand through trembling fingers. I felt entrapped within this haunting narrative, and in that disarray, doubt consumed me as the events coalesced with the virtual memories I had long cherished. Time twisted, a cruel illusion. The panic bubbled to the surface, choking me. However much I wanted it to be a figment of my imagination, I realized the inescapable truth. Perhaps I was trapped inside my own narrative of grief over a brother lost. And yet, as I stood before the screen, I couldn't fully leave those splintered pieces behind. The greater fear rested with me now. The gentle tugging echo shouted the name I've cherished, submerged in time. I am tethered to the understanding that my brother may have deliberately crafted this legacy, leaving remnants of choices that crossed the threshold into something horrific and beautiful. The time ticked endlessly onward. The fire scarring my world now felt fused into a sim-heavy framework, evaporating emotions into the ether. I wanted a release from the weight of his pain, but believed it could coalesce again any moment, like wisps of vapor trapped between hearts alight. I had to campaign forward, each moment slipping into darkness as flame signature morphed, a letter's glow sizzling with predictions of our shared past. Yet the future became a phantom culled in digital debris. It was here that the truth began to burn, full of the memories of my brother. I pondered his legacy, intertwined with layers of nostalgia and twisted timelines that rubbed against my sanity. It all led me here, to ponder who gained control of our stories. Just last night, a simulated figure from the last house whispered my name. That final admission hung in the air like smoke. An uncertainty lingered, a feeling I couldn't shake. What I had come to know was just a beginning, and the remnants felt alive, with every passing moment shading deeper into the blackness. Hours spent unraveling the knots of nostalgia bore fruit. I couldn't bear to delete the neighborhood, for within it lay pieces of my life stubbornly unyielding to destruction. In my next breath, acceptance settled in. From beyond, the quiet whir of the monitor murmured like blood resonating deep in my bones. If the neighborhood continued to change, what would unfold next? The echoes of my brother's laughter lingered still, even as I steeled myself against their cadence. As the screen flickered and hummed, a rush of trepidation and excitement flooded my senses. The game rendered our neighborhood in vibrant colors, teeming with possibilities, and ghosts of joyful memories danced in the corners of my mind. But an unsettling tension pulsed beneath the surface, warning me that I was crossing into territory I couldn't control. With cautious clicks, I navigated through the pixelated streets, peering into the homes that now seemed familiar yet alien. Each house held a slice of our life, meticulously crafted by my brother's imagination. I marveled at the attention to detail. It was as though he had woven a tapestry of our memories into this digital world. As nostalgia washed over me, I felt the invisible weight of unease settle onto my chest, a premonition grasping my heart. I was drawn to the last house on the street, its allure both magnetic and menacing. It mirrored my current apartment so closely it was uncanny. The layout, the furniture, even the mismatched wall art seemed to creep into my mind. I hesitated, recalling how my brother and I had squabbled about trivial things in real life, and the thought sent chills through me. Here, in this simulation, the atmosphere grew dense, holding secrets I was unprepared to confront. Taking a deep breath, I clicked to enter. The world warped, darkening for just a moment before revealing the cramped living space. It felt as if I had stepped into a vortex, thrust back to a place I recognized but couldn't escape. The flickering lights and muted tones made it seem alive, almost sentient. Navigating the virtual halls, I lingered over familiar trinkets dusted in nostalgia. Faded family photos adorned the walls, yet these images stirred confusion. At first glance, they seemed to capture cherished moments, but they twisted into unreal representations. Faces of those lost intermingled with shadows I could barely recall. Each turn echoed a voice I couldn't place, pressing against the barrier of my memories. In the kitchen, an unmistakable scent of smoke wafted through the air, triggering panic deep within me. I could see my mother's favorite dish shattered on the floor, a relic from that terrible day when flames swallowed everything whole. The reality of those events clashed violently with the digital reconstruction before me, forcing me to confront the past. Why would my brother replicate these pieces of our shattered lives? How could he have known the depths of my sorrow, the paths I would tread? I felt paralyzed, caught between two worlds that had suddenly collided. Beneath the layers of memories was an undercurrent of panic that threatened to drown me. Each detail unraveled like a thread, weaving chaos and nostalgia into a heartbreaking tapestry of loss. Time felt suspended here, caught in the echoes of joy overshadowed by tragedy. and I was left to piece together how this virtual nostalgia had become a grim reminder of fate. As despair clawed at my heart, I was forced to confront a chilling reality. Perhaps my brother had always known, had crafted this digital labyrinth as a warning. My obsession over this neighborhood deepened. Could he have left hidden messages within its virtual confines? Faces danced on the screen, and the dance felt ominous. The unease melded into a determination. This could no longer simply be a game. Each click resonated a sense of dread and urgency, as if I were a marionette in his design. I resolved to unravel the secrets lying dormant in this world, clutching fragments of my shattered family before they slipped forever into oblivion. Just then, the screen flickered again. My pulse quickened, and I noticed the calendar on the wall. It displayed dates that shouldn't be there, ones that echoed a future I hadn't lived yet. Just as I began to understand the depth of this uncanny simulation, a whisper broke through my haze. I froze. A voice from beyond the screen echoed my name. That admission hung heavy in the air, and suddenly the stark reality of my situation sunk in. There were no longer just pixels on a monitor. I was caught between two lives that converged into something terrifying and beautifully tragic. Standing before the screen, my heart thudded with an unsettling rhythm. I grasped the realization that the secrets of my past lay trapped within this simulation. Such a delicate dance of nostalgia entwined with shadows of loss. The voice that had whispered my name beckoned me further into the folds of this digital tapestry, each second charged with anticipation. The vibrant world shimmered with possibilities, yet every click resonated with dread. Each house on this street was a capsule of memories, meticulously crafted by my brother's hand. Yet now they felt both familiar and alien, steeped in a sinister undercurrent I couldn't ignore. I felt drawn, helpless against the magnetic pull of the last house on the corner. Memories flickered in my mind, a haunting echo of how we used to squabble as children over video game narratives, each story an adventure we molded together. But now, the stakes felt higher. Taking a moment to breathe, I clicked to enter the digital version of our childhood home. The familiar crunch of old floorboards underfoot morphed into a surreal echo. I felt thrust into a vortex. The muted tones and flickering lights breathed life into this virtual habitat, an illusion that felt almost sentient. As I drifted through the rooms, I was met with a kaleidoscope of memory-laden artifacts, the jumble of crafted moments synthesized into this haunting version of reality. But the shadows twisted in on themselves. I lingered over photographs adorning the walls. The faces, those of friends and family, were sunset pictures of bliss, yet their eyes felt hollow, as if they were mere mannequins crafted to reflect a life forever altered. Panic gripped me when I caught a whiff of smoke, faint yet unmistakable, permeating the air. It brought forth visions of that night, flames engulfing our home, a relic of grief I wasn't prepared to face. Desperation crept in, and I felt paralyzed, caught between two intertwined realms, my tangible reality and this haunting simulation. What was happening? Why would my brother weave our tragedies into this digital construct? Each detail clawed at my sanity, revealing a heart-wrenching tapestry of nostalgia intertwined with almost tangible pain. I recognized, perhaps for the first time, that this wasn't a mere game. This house concealed more than just memories. Perhaps it held forewarnings, the manifestation of choices made and unmade. I harbored a quest, not just for answers, but for salvation. I had to peel back the layers, even while the weight of grief suffocated me, steeped in the fear of reliving our past. Just then, something within the simulation flickered, drawing my eye to the calendar on the wall. My pulse quickened as I examined the dates, ones that echoed a future I had not yet lived. How could that be? Could he have seen this? My brother, in his version of our world, weaving predictions like threads in a cloak? As realization sank deeper, the breath left my lungs. This digital neighborhood mirrored our existence, acting as a harbinger of events to come. Enthralled yet terrified, I was compelled to unearth answers, to peel back the layers concealing the truth of my brother's intentions. This was more than a nostalgic game. It felt like a dark prophecy waiting to be unraveled. I steadied myself, my resolve hardening like steel. I was no longer merely a player, but an investigator, driven to confront the past if only to uncover how my brother's genius had transformed into this tangled legacy. But every revelation felt weighted with consequence, urgent whispers calling me into the depths of our shared secrets. "This is just the beginning," I whispered into the void, the weight hanging heavy in the air. I realize now that I needed to share this journey. If you want to hear more stories about uncanny legacies trapped in old video games, subscribe to the channel, I declared, the words spilling out with fervor. This was not just for me. This was for anyone grappling with the intricacies of memory and loss, urging them to join me on this haunting exploration. In that moment of urgency, a shadow shifted on the screen, drawing my attention again. My heart raced. I felt an unseen presence draw me deeper, urging me to unveil the intertwining threads of fate that had been spun not only by my brother, but perhaps by something greater lurking within this digital abyss. The path ahead shimmered enigmatic, and with every passing second, the boundary between our worlds threatened to dissolve completely. The air shimmered with electric tension as I stood before the screen, heart racing, trying to comprehend the swirling chaos around me. The house felt like a living entity, quietly scrutinizing my every thought and decision. I sensed the weight of my brother's intentions suffocating the nostalgia that once brought comfort, casting shadows over the cherished memories lying within its confines. As I wandered deeper into the digital replica of my past, I caught the sense of shadows flickering in the corners of my vision, something lurking just past the periphery, an ominous pulse that urged me to confront the truth. What had my brother woven into this simulation? Was this really just a playground for his creativity, or something far more sinister? I was drawn to the remnants of his life in the room, sketches of ideas and fragments of stories, all colored by the profound questioning of life and death. Sitting on his desk, I discovered a half-finished draft, his handwriting neat but urgent, scribbles marking the urgency of revelations he feared to forget. I was too late. He had left a puzzle behind for me to decode, a warning buried beneath layers of pixels. Then my gaze landed on a family portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. A stern reminder of our past, it showed us all easily recognizable, yet strangely distorted. Eyes too wide, smiles too tight. Was it merely a glitch in the game, or an implication of something deeper? The unease settled heavier across my chest, as if the past were a weight I could not shed. A soft, familiar voice echoed softly through the stillness, whispering my name again, a beckoning that felt both haunting and intimate, leading me to the kitchen where remnants of a meal lay, tragically shattered. My mother's favorite dish laid in the digital debris, a stark reminder of that day when everything turned to ash. I was choking on memories, each scent and sight reviving the horror of loss. Suddenly, the simulation flickered, casting shadows across the room. The walls began to tremble as something dark shifted beneath the surface. I understood. I was trespassing into sensitive spaces, unearthing feelings better left alone. The air seemed to thicken, pulsating with apprehension as the screen faded into a dim hue. Driven by a sense of urgency, I returned to the calendar, longing to uncover the truth of these unnerving predictions. Each date caused my pulse to spike, steering my thoughts toward the future, a terrifying road paved with the sorrow of the past. But as I leaned closer, a sharp gasp escaped my lips. One date stood out, highlighted by an intense glow, the date of our family tragedy. "Why?" I whispered, almost pleading with the empty air surrounding me. "You knew this was going to happen?" I felt diminished under the weight of realization that my brother had seen this darkness long before it unfolded. He had crafted this digital world not only as a tribute, but as a reflection of fate itself. The house might indeed be a sinister creation, but what if there was hope hidden within? What if I could change the outcome? A spark of defiance ignited in me. I wouldn't let this paralyze me. I would turn this exploration into knowledge, a weapon against the looming darkness. There had to be an answer lurking somewhere within this digital sphere. Suddenly, the desperate urge to share this journey clawed at me. If you're feeling this nightmare, if you're connected to what I'm experiencing, smash that like button, I declared, the urgency blossoming into conviction. Everyone needed a chance to relate to this haunting narrative of memory, loss, and the enigmas that tethered us so deeply to our pasts. As I steadied myself for the next click, the shadows on the screen deepened. The faint outlines of rooms morphed into something sinister, and I felt an unseen presence urging me onward, whispering secrets that stirred my heart with dread. Would I be able to unearth the truths that lingered just beyond my reach, or would I too become ensnared in this labyrinth of digital despair? With a breath steeped in resolve, I took a step forward, propelling myself into the swirling chaos of this peculiar reality. Shadows loomed larger now, poised at the edges of my vision, beckoning me to delve deeper into the truth of my brother's realm, where the lines of memory blurred with the narrative of time. The veil that divided our worlds began to fade, and I felt myself slipping further into the unknown, armed with my raw determination to confront the unshakable layers of reality he had left behind. The digital environment pulsated around me, filled with echoes of familiarity intertwined with an air of foreboding. Each step I took resonated within the pixelated walls of my memories, reverberating with the clamor of decisions made long ago. The shadows danced just out of sight, teasing me as I spiraled deeper into the maze of my brother's design. I resolved to sift through the fragments of shattered time and fractured destinies, determined to find the hidden messages left for me amidst the chaos. With a flick of my wrist, I opened another door, revealing a room blanketed in the warmth of nostalgia, a living room fashioned after our real one, adorned with a vintage television set and worn-out couches. Yet this place felt off-kilter, as if it carried the weight of unfulfilled promises. I scanned the room, searching for answers, looking to glean knowledge buried within the familiar structures. What had my brother imprinted here? As I moved closer to the coffee table, an array of board games lay scattered across its surface, artifacts of our childhood, remnants of laughter and competition. Yet their edges shimmered unnaturally, flickering as if embroiled in an unfolding narrative I had yet to comprehend. Had he tried to recreate the very moments that brought us joy, only to have them twist into something malignant? Suddenly, my gaze was drawn to a newspaper clipping that rested at the edge of the table, faded yet glaringly clear. The headline screamed, "Tragedy strikes local family. Fire claims entire home." My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a reminder of our past, it was a connection to the dreadful reality from which I hailed. Of course, he would weave elements like this into the fabric of our shared experiences, like threads through fabric, binding us together even in anguish. But why? What was he trying to communicate? I picked up the article, the familiar smell of ink wrapping around me like a shroud. My mind reeled as I read the details, but something caught my eye. A handwritten note scribbled in the margins that sent chills racing down my spine. "This can change. We can change it." "This can change?" I whispered, my mind reeling with possibility. Could it be true? Did my brother leave a pathway, an uncharted map through time and memory for me to navigate? The thought rooted itself firmly in my consciousness. What if I could alter the outcome? What if our tragedy could somehow be rewritten? I felt the heaviness of my grief shift, morphing into determination. I needed to find the code hidden within this simulation, my brother's masterful script of realities. As I set the newspaper down, the screen flickered ominously, the walls around me seeming to breathe. Suddenly, I heard a distant echo of laughter creeping in from the edges of my memory, his laughter, sweet and carefree. It was as though he was luring me deeper into the recesses of our shared past, beckoning me to uncover the truth buried beneath layers of anguish. Shadows oozed across the floor, their pulse synchronized with mine as I stepped back into familiar territory, our hallway. But this time, I dove straight into the unknown, spiraling through the rooms of the house until a cold breeze swept past me, halting my movements. I turned to see a door slightly ajar, the faintest glow shimmering from within. I approached cautiously, desperate yet enthralled by the magnetic pull of the unknown. Pushing the door open, I revealed a dim room adorned with sketches and remnants of his artistic endeavors. My heart thudded as I stepped inside. Here lay various drawings and designs, half-finished ideas etched into existence. One in particular made me stop. An intricate map of our neighborhood sketched out in delicate lines. But something trembled beneath the surface, the foundation of something monumental. Suddenly, an unsettling notion flickered within me. The paths he traced echoed the same configurations I'd seen in the video game. What if this design was a blueprint for something more? What if it was a pathway through time? I needed to glean more, understand what my brother had attempted to communicate through his imaginative framework. Just as I was about to lose myself in the details, the chilling whisper of my name echoed around me again, a summons vibrating with urgency. "Listen," it beckoned. Compelled, I followed the sound, darting back into the hallway, pulling me away from my scattered thoughts. I couldn't help but feel that something profound awaited me, an answer lingering just beyond the next doorway. I hesitated before another door, heart racing, then flung it open. The room was dark, filled with equipment counting as my brother's final workspace. Monitors lined the walls, flickering images of our past projected like a distorted film. But there beneath the screens glimmered a USB drive, an unassuming object that held unfathomable power to alter fate itself. As I reached out for it, my breath caught. How many secrets were locked within its confines? Would it hold the answers I sought? I had to know. Questions rattled in my mind. I felt drawn toward the monitors instead, staring at the disjointed timeline before me. Various moments from our lives had been caught, twisted, and fragmented. Among them, I saw my brother's face, wide-eyed, reflecting concern as he navigated paths that diverged from those we had lived. With sudden urgency, I turned toward the dim glow of a chat window on one of the screens. "Do you seek the truth?" it blinked, messages appearing as if anticipated. "Will you rewrite your fate?" My heart sank. I needed guidance. "What does this mean?" I gasped, anchoring myself against the desk. With trembling fingers, I pulled the USB from its resting place. If you or someone you know has faced a similar darkness, drop a comment below and share your own journey. "I need to know I'm not alone in this," I exclaimed, urgency swelling within me. A million thoughts etched into my mind. What if my experience resonated with someone else? Maybe together we could navigate the labyrinth of time. The glow from the monitors intensified, casting surging shadows across the dark room as a newfound determination settled within me. I was ready to confront the darkness, challenge the narrative that bound us, and perhaps, just perhaps, rewrite our destiny. As I held the USB drive firmly in my palm, the gravity of the moment collided with my racing thoughts. It felt heavier than it appeared, like an anchor tethered to the very essence of our complicated past. What insights and revelations lay caught within its encrypted confines? I could almost hear my brother's voice echoing through the darkness, urging me on, though the urgency felt eerily layered with a looming despair. Will you rewrite your fate? The blinking chat box flickered again, the message tantalizingly ambiguous. For a brief moment I hesitated, the weight of my decision sinking in. Could it really be possible? With concerted effort, I banished my doubts. I had to try. I was here for a reason, and I owed it to my brother, and to myself, to uncover the truths buried in the ashes of our shared past. Taking a deep breath, I approached the nearest monitor. I had never imagined I would be standing in a digital reflection of my life so mapped out before me. The screens illuminated my determined expression as I connected the USB drive, feeling a profound connection not only to the technology, but to my brother's intellect woven into its fabric. The screen blinked to life, flooding my senses with a flurry of information. Files began opening, revealing lists labeled in a way that felt oddly familiar. Formulas, theories, notes on temporal mechanics. My heart raced as I scrolled through each entry. Then I stumbled across an unexpected file titled Theory of Retrocausality. My breath caught in my throat. Could it be that my brother had attempted to understand how past events could collide with the present, creating pathways of action and consequence? I opened the document, the words swirling together before me. It explained the concept I would never fully grasp, yet resonated like a tune played by someone I longed to understand. Beneath the academic jargon, I could see the fragile threads of hope he had attempted to pull together, a fabric knitted with memories interlaced with the destruction that had come. He had sought to make sense of it all, giving voice to every unanswerable question buried in my heart. Every moment is a chance, he had written in bold letters at the end of the document, to rewrite your narrative. The weight of the message sank into my skin. If he believed it, then maybe there was a way to sift through the calamities of our past, transforming the pain into something meaningful. Suddenly, a flurry of thoughts cascaded through me, igniting a passionate resolve lit by desperation and hope. This can change. We can change it. The handwritten note from the newspaper echoed over and over in my mind, bouncing against my resolve like a mantra. It felt like permission to fight against the fabric of fate and time. Yet as I ventured deeper into the myriad of possibilities, shadows flickered at the edges of my vision, a reminder that I was not alone in this digital abyss. The monitors pulsed with an energy that felt almost sentient, urging me to act. Each flicker of light danced with a sense of urgency, frozen yet teeming with potential. I began to compile information, instinctively creating a plan, weaving together the fabric of knowledge my brother had stitched into the very structures of this simulation. If only I can figure out how to rewrite this destiny, I murmured, glancing toward the screens, which now displayed interconnected pathways of consequence leading back to the original moments of turmoil. That's when I caught sight of a pop-up notification blinking ominously on the screen, reading, "Are you ready to test your fate?" My heart raced again. Could I be held accountable for this? What if I triggered a cascading effect that could unravel everything? A momentary hesitation clouded my mind, but another thought lifted me. You owe it to him. You owe it to yourself. I had to forge ahead. With determination coursing through my veins, I clicked the button, and the screen transitioned to a vivid presentation of our family's history, marked with luminous points of potential intervention. I could see the key moments, the fragile intersections of time that had shaped our lives, glowing brightly, begging to be altered. Suddenly, the room darkened, as if the universe held its breath. My pulse quickened, the atmosphere felt electric, charged with an anticipation that danced along my skin. Was I truly ready to rewrite history?
I heard the whisper of my brother's laughter once more, joining the cacophony of memories swirling within the dark. Security tinged with fear washed over me. I realized that this would not just help me, it could also assist others overwhelmed by similar turmoil. The room's energy surged again, and I centered myself, ready for the storm that was to come.
The path ahead felt daunting, but I would not falter. I would rise against the tides of fate, armed with a burning desire to reclaim what had been lost and to forge new possibilities for the future. Whatever lay ahead, I was finally ready to unveil the truths hidden within the folds of this digital legacy. The room pulsated with an electric energy as I stood before the glowing screens that displayed my family's history, each luminous point marking pivotal moments in our lives. What if I could reach into these memories and alter the outcomes? The thoughts swirled around my mind, a tormenting dance of hope and dread. I had to act. The question was no longer if I could rewrite my past, but how I would go about doing it. The moment felt momentous, hanging heavy in the air. I could sense the weight of my brother's presence urging me on, yet there was something unsettling about the shadows lurking just beyond the bright edges of the display. I couldn't shake the feeling that the act of rewriting fate would not come without consequences. Focusing on the potential interventions within my grasp, I leaned closer to the nearest monitor. The screen displayed a timeline marked with glowing markers highlighting critical junctures, moments tinged with regret, anger, and ultimately loss. My heart raced as I recognized one specific point, an argument between my brother and me over a trivial game. My insights twisted. How could a moment so minor lead to such catastrophic consequences? I recalled my brother sitting on the floor, his face crinkled in concentration, the tension rising as the game played out. That day had planted seeds of discontent that eventually flourished into unresolved tensions. What if I apologized? Would that small gesture create ripples through time, changing not only our relationship, but potentially the trajectory that would lead to tragedy? The energy of the room surged again, pushing me toward action. My fingers danced over the keyboard as I navigated the timeline. "This can be done," I whispered, adrenaline coursing through me. I had to believe it was possible, that one simple apology could shift the entire narrative of our lives. My mind flashed to the chat window that had beckoned me in this journey. What if I could invite others who had experienced their own turmoil to join me? If you faced a darkness in your history, I thought, perhaps we could turn the tide together. If you relate to this struggle or want to explore these concepts with others who understand, consider joining our channel membership for exclusive insights, I urged into the void, my voice tinged with hope. The thought of creating a community of support resonated within me, and I felt a spark of connection across time and space. Maybe together we could unravel the knots of our histories. As my fingers hovered over the control panel, the air thickened, and I could almost hear my brother's laughter mingling with the echoes of our childhood. I could see the neon glow of the intervention point. It beckoned me with the possibility of redemption. In that moment, I steeled myself against the terror of the unknown. "Prepare to rewrite your fate," the screen seemed to whisper, urging me onward. Navigating the timeline, I selected the moment of the argument. The ethereal shift in the atmosphere felt profound, and my heart pounded violently against my ribs. With a few keystrokes, I committed to my path, setting the stage for my younger self to step forward into the uncharted future of reconciliation. Then it happened. The colors around me blurred, and the world faded into a dazzling whirl of light. I was swept into a whirlwind of time, sensing a rush of nostalgia and exhilaration. As the chaos folded in on itself, I felt an unusual calm wash over me. Perhaps this was the moment I had been waiting for. The vivid landscape solidified around me, and I found myself standing in the familiar environment of my childhood home. My younger self was just a few steps away, oblivious to the turmoil that would soon engulf us. I stared into the young face of my brother, whose expression was a mix of concentration and determination, reminding me of everything that had been lost. I took a step forward, willing the message I had rehearsed to emerge through the haze of uncertainty. "I am sorry," I breathed, my heart echoing my resolve. "Let's not fight. We can figure this out together." As I spoke the words, I felt the weight of the past lifting. We could change the future together. In that moment, I understood that rewriting fate was not just about changing events, but about creating connections and mending what had been broken. Whatever awaited me in this new texture of time, I was ready to embrace it, anchored by the knowledge that no one faced their darkness alone. We were threads woven into a greater fabric, each connected by shared experiences. And now, with every interaction, I felt us weaving a new destiny. Hung in the air, shimmering like the last vestiges of daylight before dusk fully embraced the horizon. My younger brother, unaware of the significance of my declaration, faced me with a puzzled look as if trying to wrestle his attention away from the game. "What?" he asked, his brow furrowing in confusion. "I'm sorry for being a jerk," I continued, my heart thudding against my chest, echoing in the stillness of the room. "I don't want this to come between us. We can make this better, you and me." The words felt powerful, resonating through the fabric of time, reverberating with the hope that somehow this small act of kindness could redirect the tragic path that lay ahead. My brother blinked, the tension in his shoulders relaxing as he set down the controller. "Okay," he said, and a tentative smile creeped across his face. In that moment, I saw the fragile threads of our childhood reconnecting, weaving together the fabric of understanding that had frayed over time. I stepped closer, encouraged by his response and the energy thrumming through the air. "Do you want to play together?" I asked, my voice full of uncharacteristic softness. "I'll even let you win this time." Laughter bubbled in my chest, an easy release of the anxiety that had suffocated me since venturing into this digital wasteland of memories. Young Meat grinned, the innocence of childhood flooding back into the room like a burst of sunlight breaking through clouds. "You're on," he declared, his competitive spirit igniting as he tossed the controller over to me. My heart swelled with gratitude. I could feel the temporal fabric shifting, maybe even reshaping itself. As we settled into the rhythm of the game, I allowed my mind to dance between our shared laughter and the implications of what I was doing. My intervention, so simple yet profound, offered treasures of hope and possibility. I watched as my younger brother immersed himself in the game, finding joy in every pixel that danced across the screen. For the first time, I understood that the power of connection could undo the hearts of darkness that had taken hold. But as the joyous moments unfolded, I sensed something lurking in the shadows, a deep foreboding. I turned my head slightly. The corner of the room remained dim, the flickering light casting long shadows that stretched like tendrils, reminding me that time was fragile and unpredictable. Had I truly altered our fate, or was this merely delaying the inevitable? Still, I found solace in the warmth shared in that small room. Despite anxieties gnawing at my mind, I focused on the connection blooming between us, the scars of our past beginning to fade beneath the light of companionship. What if everything could be different? I asked myself, my heart swelling with possibility. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A small, spiraling light emerged from the shadows, twisting and swirling like a whispering breeze. It danced quickly before me, and I watched it closely, entranced. The shimmer burst into a glowing document like an ethereal portal, illuminating the surrounding area. As my younger self finished another level, I glanced at the hovering page, its contents coming into focus. The title read, "The Digital Timeline, a Study of Retrocausality," and my heart raced. The document contained information about temporal paradoxes,
theories about how small actions could ripple through time and space.
Had my brother anticipated that I would come here, bridging the past and future with his own revelations? I reached for the document, excitement coursing through my veins. As I skimmed the points detailed within, I realized it was filled with cases. Stories of individuals like me, grappling with lost connections and altered destinies. Each case study showed the profound impact of seemingly mundane choices, suggesting pathways of healing that echoed through the corridors of time. My determination surged, igniting a need to share these insights. If this knowledge could help someone else, I thought, then I have to spread the word. A spark flared in my chest as I steadied my resolve. I need to create something from this, I murmured. I imagined forming a collection of stories and insights, a guide that others could explore as I had. An ebook, I whispered with enthusiasm.
One that could reveal the mysteries of rewriting our narratives. The thought thrummed through me like a drumbeat, each pulse announcing my commitment. Join me on this journey, I urged, my heart racing with purpose. I've documented these stories, chronicling how we can approach our pain, understand it, and ultimately transform our experiences. If you want to dive deeper into these narratives, consider grabbing my ebook. It's a guide filled with tools to help rewrite your fate. The shadows around me flickered, merging with the glowing document that still hung in the air. It felt as though an invisible hand was urging me onward, intertwining the threads of my past with visions of hope for the future. Whatever happened here would not just be a personal journey, but a shared mission to aid others grappling with their own darkness. As my younger brother burst into laughter, victorious over the game, I felt a tidal wave of joy flood through me. Perhaps together, with the experiences collected in my forthcoming ebook, we could help others confront their own pasts, weaving new narratives that would stand resilient against time's relentless tide. Let's rewrite the stories waiting to be unfolded, I vowed silently to myself, determination driving me forward. In that exhilarating moment, I understood that the journey was only beginning, a journey that would take me, us, further into the marvelous realms of possibility and connection, forever reshaped by the bonds we forged amidst the trials of time. Laughter reverberated off the walls, echoing the joy that filled the room as my younger brother and I played. But beneath the exhilaration, an undercurrent of tension still lurked. The subtle darkness in the corners served as a whisper of caution. No matter the warmth of the moment, I knew that the shadows had their own agenda. Every laugh we shared felt like a fragile light in an expansive darkness, illuminating a path that I desperately hoped would guide us to safety. I wanted to cherish this, but part of me was aware that time was relentless. The choices I made now would weave their way into the very fabric of our narrative. With every click of the controller, I questioned the timeline. Had I truly rewritten our history? With each joyful moment, I felt lighter, yet I couldn't shake the memories of the pain we had endured. My heart raced not only from the flow of the game, but also from the weight of what lay ahead. Great job, my younger self cheered as he finished yet another level, his eyes sparkling with triumph. I was transported back to my childhood, clinging to the simple happiness we once shared. Yet, during these joyful exchanges, I felt the looming sense of urgency thrumming around me, like a taut string ready to snap. Suddenly, another shimmering light burst forth, breaking my concentration. The swirling vortex of light condensed into a projected screen, unveiling a sliding timeline filled with snapshots of our lives. The vivid images bore witness to our moments, some joyous, others filled with anguish. I recognized key events, familiar faces rising up to greet me in ghostly outlines. In an electrifying moment of clarity, I understood this wasn't merely a reflection of our past. It was a warning. Each image flickered with purpose, and I could almost hear the whisper of our future electrifying the air.
Desperation surged through me as I noticed darker moments lingering on the timeline, hovering ominously at the edges of our laughter. I turned to my younger self. "We need to be careful," I said, my voice steady despite the swirling tension. "Every choice we make matters. We have the power to change things now, but it's a double-edged sword." He paused, his smile fading as he processed my words. "What do you mean?" Innocent curiosity radiated from him, a stark contrast to the shadows enveloping my own fears. "By mending our bond, we can heal our past, but we must stay vigilant." My voice dropped to a whisper. "What if those dark moments still want to claim us? We need to understand our choices." The shadows flickered again, stealing his attention and drawing him toward the timeline. I felt an invisible tether pulling him back, but I reached out, anchoring him with my voice. "Together, we'll confront this. We can face it head on." The urgency pierced my chest anew. I had to protect his light at all costs. As he returned our focus to the game, I formulated a plan within the depths of my mind. What if we confront the unhappy moments head on? We could rewrite them before they spiral out of control. It felt like a radical idea, but it was the only viable option I could see. An attempt to face the darkness and reclaim our narrative. "Let's keep playing," I proposed. "We'll work through this together, rewrite it within the game. If we face the hurdles, we can transform the fallout." I could see the flickers of understanding dance in his eyes, and gradually my determination propelled us forward. The laughter resumed, light filling the room again as the game's challenges reappeared on the screen. We laughed through the difficult levels, my younger brother stepping up to tackle obstacles that had previously felt insurmountable. Each time he succeeded, I felt a piece of my own fear dissipate, melting away as our combined energy swelled. It felt as if we were redefining our own past, a tangible rewriting through pixelated challenges. But deep down, an unsettling sense of urgency echoed. Would this moment be enough to alter the unspeakable darkness still looming? My younger brother reached a particularly difficult level and struggled. "I don't think I can do this. It's too hard," he exclaimed, frustration creeping into his voice. "You can," I insisted, my tone fierce and encouraging. "Remember how far we've come. This level is just another hurdle. You can conquer it." As he closed his eyes, focusing on the screen, I took a breath, my heart thrumming with adrenaline and uncertainty. "Let's face it together," I urged, channeling all my energy into him. "If I can help you here, maybe we can tackle the darker moments just like this." His spirit seemed to lift, the weight of my belief shining through him. I urged him forward, cheering as he gained momentum through the level. Each jump and evasion brought us closer to victory, not just in the game, but in reclaiming the compassionate bond we once held. I wanted to shout my support, to reach out and grab on to not just the moment, but the very hope twinkling in my heart. If this story inspires you, please hit that thanks button below to show your appreciation. Every bit of your support helps me continue uncovering these narratives, challenging the dark, and bringing light to the shadows, I declared energetically. As the words spilled from my mouth, we won! The screen erupted in a kaleidoscope of colors, and victory tunes flooded the room while my younger brother jumped in celebration. "I did it!" he shouted, and I felt tears prick at my eyes, mixing joy with relief. Perhaps we had transformed not only our immediate reality, but also forged a hopeful trajectory into the future. As celebration subsided and the shadows returned, I sensed the struggle was not yet over. But now, standing together, we were a force. Our laughter rang true like a bell, echoing against the dark, lighting a new path through unknown terrains. And even if shadows lingered, we had the power to face them together, reaffirming the bond that tethered our fates across the corridors of time. Whatever awaited us beyond this moment, I was no longer alone in confronting it.
I felt a profound conviction in my brother's unwavering spirit beside me, ready to rewrite our story, one laughter-filled moment at a time. The celebration faded into a stillness punctuated only by the soft hum of the game console, but the shadows still flickered ominously on the periphery. My heart raced, not from the joy of victory, but from the underlying tension that still clung to the room like an accusation waiting to be voiced. My younger brother, radiant from our recent triumph, seemed blissfully unaware of the fleeting nature of our shared moment. Still, the brilliance of our connection felt powerful enough to challenge the darkness looming just beyond the past we shared. Had we genuinely rewritten the script of fate? Each moment spent in joyous abandon was another thread woven into our tapestry, perhaps pulling on the threads of the darker paths. Yet within those threads, I could still feel something sinister lurking, eager to unravel what we had just begun to heal. My hands trembled slightly as I contemplated our next move. We had made strides, had faced the shadows together. But now, we needed to dive deeper into our narrative. There are darker moments we must confront directly. Only then can we truly rewrite our fate, I said, my voice steady with resolve. What do you mean, like the fights we had? He asked, a disquieting crease forming on his forehead. Yes, I replied, swallowing hard against the unease knotting in my stomach. We need to revisit those challenges, face them as we did with the game, and see if we can transform the outcome together. I could see the gears turning in his mind. Uncertainty flickered briefly across his features. But what if those moments still hurt us? He questioned, eyes wide with both fear and anticipation. That's the risk, I affirmed, my heart racing. But remember, we are stronger together. We can reshape those memories. Let's reclaim them as part of our journey. My conviction surged, and I reached for the illuminated timeline once more. With each passing second, I felt our connection deepen, intertwining with the past and reaching toward a future unknown. I guided my younger self to the marked moments, the fights, the distance, the time we lost. As we stood before a particularly cacophonous flash of light, I couldn't help but feel a deep pulse of trepidation. Memories flooded my mind, angry words exchanged, silence stretching across the room like an unbearable chasm, a fracture that had grown with each day. It was a pivotal point we had avoided, a wound festering beneath our laughter. Let's talk about that day, I said, anchoring my focus back to the timeline. What if we could go back right then? Revisit the pain and replace it with understanding. We can reshape our emotions. My younger brother looked hesitant, but curiosity soon eclipsed the shadow of fear. Okay, he whispered, trepidation lacing his voice. Let's try. Hand in hand, we launched ourselves into that day, stepping into the memories that had shaped and haunted us. The familiar surroundings morphed into a fray of emotions. I found myself bound in the same anger and confusion that had split us apart. Suddenly, I stood in our living room, the air thick with tension, the echoes of our former selves reverberating painfully. My younger brother faced me through the dark curtain of emotion strangling our voices. "You don't get it," he had shouted, words laced with frustration that felt all too familiar. I stepped forward gently, watching the scene unfold. "We don't have to fight," I urged, my voice steady, yet softer than the cacophonous echo that filled the room. The younger versions of ourselves paused, as if sensing something had shifted. Instead of recrimination, I felt the warmth of compassion blossom within me. "I misunderstood you back then. I was scared. I didn't know how to express that. I wish I had just listened." In that moment, a flood of recognition washed over both younger versions of ourselves. The anger and frustration began to dissipate, leaving space for understanding. My younger brother's expression softened as the hurt melted away, replaced with the vulnerability I had long since forgotten. "It's okay," he finally admitted, bewilderment giving way to a softer reality. "I didn't know how to say what I felt either. With time as our ally, I extended my hand toward him, mirroring the unity we had just forged. I felt the frail threads of trust and understanding weaving together, illuminating pathways out of our shared darkness. The air shifted around us, and with a snap, I was back in the present, my heart racing as I gazed at my brother. We did it, I breathed, tears brimming in my eyes. We faced our fears and transformed the moment. Yeah, he said, his eyes shining like stars as warmth filled the space between us. Let's keep going. Spurred by our newfound confidence, I leaned into the buoyancy carried by our joined spirits, and I envisioned the world I wanted to create, a space where stories of pain became stories of resilience and recovery. If this journey resonates with you, let's reach out to others who feel lost. We can turn their pain into power. The urgency surged within me, and I envisioned my ebook, a collection that would encapsulate the journeys of people reclaiming their lives, narratives that would illuminate the path forward. Join me on this journey, I exclaimed passionately, my excitement infectious. I want to help others rewrite their own fates. Grab my ebook to explore these stories and insights together. My brother nodded, emboldened by our revelations. This mission felt almost sacred now, a commitment to reshape lives through understanding. If we could bridge the chasms of isolation and despair, perhaps we'd inspire others to take control of their narratives. As our laughter filled the room again, the air lightened. But even amidst the joy, I knew that our battles weren't over. We would continue facing our shadows together, ever vigilant to uncover the lessons awaiting us on our journey. Whatever lay ahead, we were no longer defined by our past and emerging from the darkness stronger, hand in hand. The celebration had gradually faded into a soft stillness, punctuated only by the gentle hum of the game console. My heart raced, not just from the joy of our victory, but from an underlying tension that still hovered in the room like an accusation waiting to be voiced. Shadows lingered, whispering reminders of struggles past, but I felt a renewed sense of determination standing beside my brother. We're writing a new story together, I said, my voice steady. My younger brother nodded, his eyes sparkling with newfound courage. We were no longer tethered to our past mistakes. Instead, we were stronger, fueled by the conviction of our shared journey. Let's confront those darker moments we faced, I suggested, feeling the weight of our previous confrontations settle between us like a specter. We've transformed so much. We can reshape the memories that tried to define us. What if they still hurt us? He asked, uncertainty flickering across his features. That risk is part of the journey, I replied, conviction flooding my words. Together, we can reshape our emotions. We owe it to ourselves. Hand in hand, we dove into our memories. We landed back in our living room, the air thick with tension from a time when anger and misunderstanding had ruled our lives. You don't get it, my younger self shouted, frustration tinged with despair. I stepped forward in my memory, compassion flooding my heart. We don't have to fight, I begged, feeling the tension begin to melt away. I wish I had just listened. Recognition bloomed in my brother's eyes as the younger versions of ourselves understood the pain we had both endured. I didn't know how to say what I felt either, he finally admitted, vulnerability radiating from him. With the air shifting around us, I extended my hand, a silent testament to our unity. As we touched, I felt the frail threads of trust weave a new bond, illuminating pathways out of our shared darkness. Suddenly, I was back in the present. We did it, I whispered, tears glistening in my eyes. The transformation we had experienced was nothing short of miraculous. Let's keep going, he replied, his voice brimming with hope. The shadows seemed to recede, as though acknowledging our triumph. In that moment, a vision struck me, a community of healing. We should share our journey with others, I said, my heart racing with excitement. We can turn our pain into purpose. Let's create an ebook filled with empowering stories, helping others reclaim their lives. His eyes lit up. Yes, let's inspire them. We can help them find their own way. I could almost feel the energy shifting around us, a collective power blossoming in our hearts. If this journey resonates with you, hit that thanks button below to show your appreciation. Your support helps us uncover these narratives, challenging the dark and illuminating the path. Together, we stood ready to face whatever shadows lay ahead, armed with the understanding that light could emerge from even the deepest darkness. As brothers, hand in hand, we would help others rewrite their stories, one moment at a time.